is Wednesday, my dudes. Welcome to The Sweat, presented by DraftKings. I am your host, Emerson Latzia. So today we're getting real deep with Team Gojo. Why Dan Campbell doesn't care if you have 3 toes, and why Bachelor Nation can't turn away from some of the worst television of all time. Plus NFL over-unders, a little St. Jude Championship DFS preview. That's the first leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs that tees off tomorrow. But Das Diamond is where we begin. 9 games on the main slate. I still have cereal in my teeth right now. I should not eat that before the show. So we are covering the bases with DraftKings contributors Gary and Thor, Nick Fryer, and RotoWire's Paul Bruno. Gentlemen, when we cover the bases, we start at first base. And looking at pitchers here, no one is better at going deep into games than Marlins ace Sandy Alcantara. A leading Cy Young candidate, too, by the way, facing the Phillies, sending Noah Syndergaard to the mound. Noah Syndergaard, by the way, guys, hasn't had a salary this high since the middle of May. Those are just 2 options on this slate. Nick, one of these guys, your favorite pitcher, you want to go in a different direction?
Yeah, I do like both of these guys based on their matchups because of the Marlins. Obviously, we saw what Zach Wheeler did against them the other day. But weather is a concern with this game, which kind of leads me to stay away from these 2 guys. I'd rather go and pay it for Justin Verlander, and I understand he's the most expensive guy, just above Alcantara, $200 more. But a way you can save if you're looking to get Verlander, or even if you want to roll the dice with Alcantara, Madison Bumgarner is a guy I like tonight a lot. And geez, Emerson, at 6.9K, he's got a ceiling game, I think, going up against the Pirates, who have a 27.5 strikeout rate against left-handed pitching since mid-July. They've been hitting a lot of ground balls during that stretch too, and only making a good amount of soft contact.
Hey, Paul, who do you want on the mound tonight, dude?
You know what? I'm not touching that matchup between Miami and Philadelphia. Sure, Alcantara is a great pitcher, but the Phillies are hitting everything right now. They're on a 6-game win streak. I also fade Verlander. In fact, I don't like going for guys that are over 10 grand. So I'm going to save some money, not too much, but I'm going to go to Johnny Cueto, who's quietly put together a great season, his best in 4 or 5 years. And it's quality start after quality start. I think he's up to 7 in a row. The opposition tonight is a suspect starter in Chris Bubic, who has a bloated ERA and over 80 innings pitched. So I see a high win probability for the White Sox and Cueto.
All right, Gare Bear, are you also staying away from this Marlins-Phillies matchup?
I mean, it's just a lot of money for Alcantara. And look, he's an amazing pitcher. And if he gets you that complete game bonus, he's going to be scoring more than anyone else on this slate. But, as Paul mentioned, the Phillies have not only been one of the best offensive teams since the All-Star break, they're also not striking out. They have a bottom 5 strikeout rate within that span of time. Everyone is just getting hot at the same time. They've got Gene Segura back in the lineup as well. So it's a really tough matchup. I don't really trust Noah Syndergaard at all, even in a really good matchup against the Marlins. This is just a strange slate. You've got you've got the leading Cy Young candidates in each league, and then just such a precipitous drop-off to the 3rd best pitcher on this particular slate. So I'll probably just end up going with Justin Verlander, who's in a pretty good matchup. I know he's 10-5, but this is someone who has a .76 ERA across his last 7 starts. Texas has a top 10 strikeout rate since the All-Star break. I also do like Madison Bumgarner. I think that the Pirates just can't hit left-handed pitching. Bumgarner's bad, but so are the Pirates. So I think at a price tag below 7K, you can probably get away with using Bumgarner on tonight's slate.
All right, Paul, start us off here at second base. Give me your best DFS hitter tonight. How much money you're going to be spending. I see Goldie at the top of the board at 6.2, but he has been a certified menace against left-handed pitching all season.
Absolutely. I'm going to pick up on that theme. The RotoWire value meter loves the Cards' chances tonight to put up big numbers in Colorado, largely on the strength of the platoon matchup of all their big hitters. Consider Goldschmidt is hitless in his last 2 games and still comes up at $6,200. He's got 3 multi-hit games in the past week, too. He'll get back on the beam. In fact, the value meter has 4 cards at the top of the list today, including Tyler O'Neill and Dylan Carlson. But my favorite is Nolan Arenado, who cost $5,200 despite being the hottest of the Cards hitters of late, entering on a 7-game hit streak, including 3 multi-hit efforts, and the long ball is part of the arsenal. He's got 4 in his last 9 games.
All right, Gare Bear, where you going, man? Who's swinging good wood?
I mean, it's got to be Goldschmidt as your number one option tonight.
Yeah.
He's got a 282 WRC plus against left-handed pitching. Kyle Freeland, win pitching at Coors Field this season, giving up an opponent batting average above 300 and a 520 slugging percentage. It's also going to be nice and hot and sticky in Colorado tonight. The winds are blowing out. Little weather update for everybody. So I think there's going to be a lot of runs scored in this game. The funny thing with the Cardinals is, though, they have simultaneously the most expensive player on the slate at first base in Paul Goldschmidt and the least expensive player on the slate at first base in Albert Pujols, who is also very viable tonight. You can only use one at a time, unfortunately, but I would say Pujols almost just as viable at the bare minimum as Paul Goldschmidt is at 6,200. So if you don't have the money to pay up for Goldschmidt, you can still use a Cardinals first baseman.
Nick, you paying up real high tonight for hitter?
Look, I like Goldschmidt a lot. Definitely the first guy that kind of jumps out when you see him going up against a lefty, and Kyle Freeland, especially a guy who gets up a lot of quality contact at Coors. But another guy that I like too, who's a little bit cheaper, who I expect to be quite a bit less popular tonight, is Yordan Alvarez. Obviously a guy we talk about quite a bit. He's at 5.9K, but at the same time, this is a guy who hasn't done a whole heck of a lot this month. He doesn't have a home run this month yet. I know it's still kind of early. He also doesn't have a career home run against Leonard. A couple doubles. I do think both of those trends are going to end tonight. Otto has given up a 40.7% fly ball rate for the last 76 left-handed hitters he has seen. And Alvarez, again, we talked about small sample size, only 24 plate appearances against right-handed pitching this month. But I mean, a 214 BABIP is ridiculous no matter what for Yordan Alvarez against right-handed pitching, especially when you consider he's only got a 28.6% ground ball rate during that stretch and a 71.4% hard contact rate during that stretch.
All right, Gary, in third base, best DFS value play. Who stands out to you?
Well, we're going to take advantage of the White Sox just being absolutely snake bitten. I'm not sure how Tim Anderson hurt his finger arguing with an umpire, but this is the world we currently live in. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks. The White Sox need a new leadoff hitter, and against left-handed pitchers like Chris Bubik, it seems like it's going to be A.J. Pollock, who's just $3,800 tonight. Pollock has been absolutely lost at the plate this year against right-handed pitching, but he's been himself against left-handed pitchers. He's got a 229 ISO and a 130 WRC+. If he's hitting leadoff tonight against Bubik, who has a 5.59 expected ERA, you got to put Pollock into a couple lineups.
All right, Paul, who are you going to squeeze into a lineup here? I guess it should be easy if it's value play and they're cheap.
I love the call on Pollock. He was my top option, so I won't regurgitate the message that you just heard. Instead, I'll offer Pirates third baseman Brian Hayes up. He's got hits in 6 of his last 7 games. I know the Pirates are a bit of a tire fire, but he's doing all right. And I'll take his platoon advantage against Madison Bumgarner. Countering what was said earlier, I think Bumgarner's been struggling lately. He's been rocking his last few starts, and he's looking like prey for Hayes tonight. He hits in the heart of the order, gets chances to score some runners on base. I think that he'll easily get value for you at $3,500 tonight.
Nick, can you please give us someone who's cheap but has the potential to score a bajillion points?
Sure. So when you look at that Rockies lineup, right, obviously we're talking quite a bit about the Cardinals. The Rockies, it's hard to find guys under 4K, but you do have Illuris Montero, who's 2.7K, and he's racked up double-digit DK fantasy points in each of his last 4 games. Gives you first base, third base flexibility in this one. And again, a guy with a small sample size, but still numbers against left-handed pitching, 27.8% line drive rate, 44.4% fly ball rate, 33.3% hard contact rate. And then again, going up against Jose Quintana, who I do like by and large, I think was a good pickup for the Cardinals, but at Coors Field, left-handed pitcher, don't love it. And he's got some bad numbers that I'll talk about when we get to the best bets.
Okay, cool. Well, go ahead. You can lead us off here. We're at home. Best bet on the DK Sportsbook for the 9-game main slate, Nick.
Yeah, so when I first checked Rockies Cardinals, the total opened up at 11. I don't know if it opened up lower than that. It's now all the way up to 12.5. I'm still taking the over in this one. Like last night, what was it? 23 runs were scored in that game. And that's two. You have 2 teams that mashed left-handed pitching that faced 2 righties last night. Weather is ideal for hitters tonight as well. Quintana, he's got a 34.9% fly ball rate and a 25.3% line drive rate across his last 5 road starts. And none of those are at Coors Field, so what does that tell you? And then Freeland across his last 5 home starts line drive rate's worse than Quintana's, fly ball rate's worse than Quintana's, and then he's got a high hard contact rate during that stretch too, 39.6%. So if this went up to like 13.5, I might be a little bit uncomfortable, but 12.5, I'm very comfortable at that one still. So yeah, I'm taking the over in that one tonight, of course.
Gary, and that's where you said it was going to be very sticky tonight.
I did say it was going to be very sticky tonight. Sorry, I'm just looking up some stats because I also had the over in that particular game. Saw it at 11.5 like 20 minutes ago, so it is rising really quickly. But I don't want to regurgitate all the things Nick just said. But again, hot and sticky with the wind blowing out indoors tonight. Gotta love it. That's a Kevin Roth special too. I'm not just making that stuff up. I don't know what a Doppler is. Let's go to Astros run line.
Ooh.
I just think this pitching matchup is so lopsided. You've got Justin Verlander, who, as I mentioned, an ERA below 1 his last 7 starts, going up against Glenn Otto, who has lost the last 8 times he has taken the mound. The Rangers just do not win games when Glenn Otto is starting because, generally speaking, he hasn't had that many good starts. So look for the Astros to get on the scoreboard early and the Rangers just not being able to catch up with Justin Verlander having another good start.
All right, Paul, bring us home here, dude, with your best bet tonight.
Well, I'm certainly with the guys on the Rockies cards. Take the over and go with the alternate line. There's going to be a lot of runs scored there. I also think Alcantara will keep a lid on the Phillies' offense tonight, but don't expect the Marlins to score much either. So I take the under on in that game. And then finally, the Jays and Orioles have combined for 11 runs in each of the first 2 games of this series. It's really ticking me off. The Jays are really struggling. And speaking of struggling, Barrios can't seem to find the plate when he crosses the border, and I think tonight they're on the road again, so he's in trouble. The worst pitching matchup of this set goes with Kramer on the other side. He's been struggling as well, so I'll take the over 9 runs and maybe go even as high as 10.5 for the better payoff at 160.
All right, excellent work, guys. You 3 are free to go, but people, please stick around because coming up, Mike Golick Jr. and Brandon Newman of the Gojo Pod will join the show. They're going to give their take on some recent NFL headlines, The Bachelorette, and Baker Mayfield right there on your screen, winning over critics, including his own offensive coordinator. Everybody, do not forget one of our newest and greatest podcasts here at DraftKings. We got the Gojo Show every weekday. Former Notre Dame teammates, Mike Golick Jr., Brandon Newman. They're always offering their unique and fun takes on anything and everything, sports, non-sports. Like if it's trending on your Twitter timeline, pretty good opportunity, pretty good chance that these 2 potato chips are going to be talking about it. And guess what? They're here on the show. Right meow. Brandon actually made it today. Welcome aboard, dude.
I did. Thank you. I had to come. I wanted to sit back in the rafters and watch last week.
Yeah, that's right. You know, learning from one of the best there, Golick, who, by the way, I saw you tweeting up a storm about Hard Knocks last night. So you gave episode 1 an A. What was your favorite part? A lot of weird happening.
A lot of weird happening. Are we all Lions fans now? Like really, like
100%
made up of former players, guys doing up downs in a way I didn't actually hate in pro camp, mostly because I didn't have to do it. But it all goes back to Dan Campbell and starting off the show with a monologue that included Metallica reference and talking about facing an opponent who has 1 butt cheek and 3 toes. I don't know where that slots in on the Lions calendar this year, but I am all aboard the hype train right now.
Yeah, and the up downs was even like, it was more impressive to me because I didn't realize he hurt his wrist like days prior. I think he tripped over a dog gate like in his house too. So completely overcoming the adversity. Brandon, did you watch last night?
Oh, absolutely. Aiden Hutchinson Are you kidding me?
That was sick.
Like, I am rooting so hard. It's grit time for the NFC North. Obviously, Jared Goff looks a little bit disengaged right now, but we'll get to him later. We're here for the fun stuff, which is on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, that Billie Jean moment was incredible. I've seen it all over Twitter today. Exactly. I'm like, dude, this absolutely gave me goosebumps. So the Lions guys are going to host the Falcons on Friday. Bulk of the league's preseason schedule really kicks off tomorrow with a couple games, which means we're going to be buried like with all those incredible just hot takes and overreactions come Sunday. But Mike, what can we really learn from these games here early on?
I think it's a lot about taking the temperature of where your rookies are at. Each team's got a different approach to what they're going to do with their starters, especially in preseason one. But I would say, like, you look at Thursday night, for example, when we'll see the Giants out there. Great opportunity to see live reps for a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau, their top pick out of Oregon, who is getting rave reviews in camp, filling a need the Giants have had for a long time. Evan Neal on the offensive line on the other side, the all-everything prospect out of Alabama. How do these guys look the first time going through the reps of live bullets in an NFL game and in that setting? It's a great opportunity to just take the temperature, do the little bit of report card on that. We're more doing progress reports. This isn't the final grade, but it's a good start.
Yes, indeed it is. Brandon, what will you be looking for?
Mainly, I like that the Lions versus the Falcons game, mainly because Desmond Ridder is going to be taking snaps. And what I like to see from these rookies is kind of how fast everything's going in their head. And Mike, you have a great point. It's really time for them to shine. But I like the audition for the other teams. My favorite thing is to fall in love with a player at the end of the preseason and him end up making a difference on another team that needs him.
Well, one of the players that you even have coaches falling in love with, coaches who were very harsh talking about him coming out of the draft, coming out of college. We're talking about Baker Mayfield here. Like Ben McAdoo, guys, is his offensive coordinator. Did not like him at all back in like 2018, but reversing course on him now on the former Browns quarterback. So he's in Carolina. Who's on board the Baker revenge tour here? Brandon, are you?
Oh, 100%. Baker Mayfield is so good that he went to Cleveland and had an ego death while everyone else, all the rest of the quarterbacks that go to Cleveland, have a career death, right?
Yep.
So it's like he had his Aaron Rodgers ayahuasca moment, and now he is with Carolina, a coastal state. Him and his wife is forgiving all the people in Cleveland. He's ready to make a new start. He's not a huge guy, but I guarantee he's going to make a big impact in Carolina.
Yeah, what do you think? You think it's going to be a huge impact as well, Mike?
Let's put it this way. I think with him, Carolina in this year's NFC, remember, we've got expanded playoffs now in the NFL. We've got an NFC with about 3 really good elite teams. I think this can be a fringe playoff team. Can the Carolina Panthers? You look at the rest of that roster and the way it's fleshed out. Addressed a lot of needs on the offensive line. If Robbie Anderson has a bounce back year alongside DJ Moore, that defense was one of the tops in the league through the first half of the season last year. All the rest of that just needs a guy to go out there and not be a world beater, which I don't think he's ever been, but to be a competent, upper above average quarterback. Baker Mayfield, when healthy, can do that, and that can be a playoff team if he is.
Yeah, and who knew Browns-Panthers could be like a game you have highlighted in week 1 of the NFL season, but here we are. It's going to be absolutely sexy. Let's go to his former home here, and I'm talking about the Big 12. It's the future home of America's team, the University of Central Florida. So you guys talked a little bit about this conference on the pod this week. The entire college football landscape, it is changing nonstop every day. Future SEC members, Oklahoma and Texas, not a shocker. They're the favorites on the DK Sportsbook to win this thing, plus 200 and plus 280 respectively. Golick, is this a 2-horse race in the Big 12?
I don't think so at all, actually. I think Texas has a lot of questions they need to answer, specifically on defense, before I'm going to consider them the second and favorite for the Big 12. Everyone's excited about Quinn Ewers coming over from Ohio State, the former top pick overall, and what he can do in Steve Sarkisian's offense. That offense was near the top of the Big 12 in most categories last year. The defense couldn't pull up on their end, and that's why we saw a 5-7 season. I look at 2 teams that were in the Big 12 championship last year. Oklahoma State sitting there at plus 550 right now, and Baylor at plus 650. Both of those teams in Oklahoma State return their head coach, quarterback in Spencer Sanders, who's probably the most experienced, even if he's not the best in this conference, and then plenty of work along the offensive and defensive line. They lose their defensive coordinator, who was great, to Ohio State, but they bring in former head coach Derrick Mason on that side of the ball, and they feel like it's going to be smooth sailing in a very similar story. So I think both of those teams have what it takes, especially up front. In a Big 12 now, this ain't your dad's Big 12. This one is defense and being able to run the football right now. I think those two teams both have a really good chance to wind up back in Arlington.
All right, but Brandon, after receiving one first-place vote in the preseason coaches poll, like Texas is back.
Absolutely, because it only takes one vote for those big blue bloods to get really going and feeling themselves. I like Texas as the top of the F up the conference with a big win team. Obviously, you're going to see that from West Virginia, Iowa State. They have a bunch of big games that they need to take care of non-conference throughout the schedule. But right now, I feel like it is Oklahoma and Baylor's conference to lose. I think they're going to be ending up in the Big 12 conference championship. And I'm just hoping that one of these other teams make things complicated for them. Well,
Brandon, one thing I also love about y'all's podcast, it's not just football. Like, you guys cover all the sports, whatever people are talking about, you guys are chatting about it. So what other story has really caught your eye over the last few days? Like one that we've talked about with Carabas yesterday here in studio, there was Chris Sale breaking his wrist. He's out for the year because of a bicycle injury. Now Jared wants bicycles just banned around the world. There's also Serena Williams, absolute GOAT, the queen. She's going to be retiring after the U.S. Open. What other sports story out there is on your mind, dude?
Well, I think you said it.
Yeah.
Go
for
ahead,
you.
please.
Well, I was going to say, for me, how about Rodolfo Castro's phone falling out of his pocket last night for the Pirates? An incredible moment for relatable athletes here. I said he had to have a fantasy football draft going on because usually that's how I operate when I was working some sort of overnight and my friends decided to schedule the draft without me in mind. So we stand a deeply relatable Major League Baseball king who had to make sure that he was able to swipe right or get to the timeline or whatever he needed during that game last night.
Can you imagine, like, if he picks it up there when it fell out of his pocket in third base, and he's just like drafting his guys. You see the umpire too. It's like, dude, your phone's right there.
Everyone's like, is this legal? Is it illegal?
Yeah.
It's like Aaron Rodgers doing ayahuasca. We're not exactly sure if you're supposed to be able to say the quiet part loud right now.
Yeah, you're right though. I mean, this is 2022. Like, these guys are on their phones just like nonstop. I mean, they have brands to keep up, and it's like interacting with fans. I mean, I don't know, during a game's kind of weird, but it does seem like kind of the day and age we live in. Like, Brandon, what about you? What's on your mind out there besides like football?
Well, obviously it's National S'more Day today. It's very, very important. I'm big on those national days. It's also Skyscraper Appreciation Day. But Mike and I got into it about s'mores earlier today. I'm a big char the hell out of that marshmallow and get it right into the action. Mike wants to be perfect and get it ready for a commercial. Just normal stuff.
Yeah, Emerson,
like
where are you at on that? Do you deep fry and char the heck out of your marshmallow when you make it a s'more? Really?
Yeah, I am.
you.
And you know what? So is my wife. My wife is one of the biggest s'mores fans I've ever met. Like, we're going to Stowe this weekend, and all she's talking about right now is wanting to make s'mores like every night at the fire. A little romantic charred marshmallow. Put it there on the chocolate. Let the chocolate just get nice and moist and tender, but it's still a little hard on the inside. And then that cracker crunch of the graham. Dude, come on, bro. There's nothing better than that. See, you want it to be like perfectly just like soft and raw, Mike?
I love the pursuit of the perfectly browned marshmallow. I think it is just like my O-line brain that still can't kick out of gear.
Yeah.
I want to get it just right, just the level of softness. But man, the picture you painted there, can I come on this romantic trip? This sounds incredible.
Absolutely.
And deeply fulfilling.
Yeah, absolutely. Out of the drinking the cheap red wine out of the red Solo cups. Yeah, there's nothing better than that. Hey, before you guys go, I know one topic that you guys love to hit on, Mike, I always see you tweeting about it as well. We got the Bachelorette. All right, I'm sorry, dude. In my opinion, this season, it's some of the worst television I've ever seen. But I cannot turn away from it. And I know there are a lot of men in America who maybe aren't yet quite comfortable with themselves to say, I am a part of Bachelor and Bachelorette, like, nation. Can you please let them see the light, Michael?
Yeah, listen, I didn't realize that I thought we were in a post-Bachelorette shaming portion of our life cycle in the year of our Lord 2022. Guys, it is sports. The competitive elements of this one, the nonstop drama, every bit of sports, to quote our friend Charlotte Wilder, is just melodrama. It's just gossip, and this does it at a high level. And I know they say if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. I disagree in this year. I think in having two bachelorettes, in Gabby and Rachel, we've actually got a better version of this. It was diabolical at the beginning here. Which guys were there for which girl? How would that play out on the big stage? Now we get two separate moments involving each bachelorette having their time here.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if there was a season, like Emerson said, it may not always be quality. We're not eating caviar, but we are drinking cheap red wine out of a Solo cup, and it's been delicious so far for me this season.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, Brandon, what do you think? Double Bachelorette season, in my opinion, best of times, like worst of times altogether.
Yeah, I agree. I need two bachelorettes because you talk about caviar. I like the eye candy, if you will, when it comes to the bachelor season, and you get to see all the ladies fighting over that one guy that we have to like deal with him with his shirt off every now and then and throwaway pictures. But listen, the more bachelorettes, the more ladies to love, and I really love the drama, like Mike said. What I like about it is the individual players. You kind of know what moves they're going to make. You're like, oh, this is set up, and it's kind of like watching sports, like Mike said.
Speaking of that, I do want to make my pitch while I've got your platform here, Emerson, to say I've been putting myself out there for Bachelor Nation for a long time saying, let me be the play-by-play announcer for the sports games. 2 episodes ago, we had the boxing match for a bunch of the guys that were vying for Rachel's heart. I want to be the play-by-play. You got Jesse Palmer doing an outstanding job hosting the series now in lieu of Chris Harrison. Let me go alongside him and give Bachelor Nation the broadcast booth they deserve for the yearly sports game.
I mean, that's a hell of a pitch right there. Like, if I'm one of the ABC execs seeing that right now, I don't know why they don't book you. I don't. You're perfect for this, Mike. You have a passion for this passionate show.
I just want to make it as great as I possibly can, Emerson, because like you said, I want other guys who feel like, hey, I'm only watching this because my girlfriend or wife is watching this, or I'm only watching this because I got suckered in. No, it's like much like the band Nickelback. It's okay to like the Bachelorette franchise in public.
And then, Brandon, you can't lie here. Like, Mike would make a great bachelor, would he not?
No. Of course, he'd make a great bachelor.
Yeah,
he'd make a great host. Even though he doesn't have a girlfriend, Mike loves love, and I think he is all about connecting the dots.
Mike loves love. All right. Well, I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the SWAT. We'll catch up with both you guys again next week. And everyone, do not forget, you can check out the Gojo Show wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, including Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, and so much more. But don't go anywhere, everybody, because after a short break, Jeff, Reed, and Pierce will join us for some more football talk. Check this out, everybody. Bears linebacker Raquan Smith posting a message on social media saying he wanted to be traded and that the new front office regime just doesn't value him. They refuse to negotiate in good faith. Every step of this journey has been take it or leave it, and that the deal sent to him is one that would be bad for himself and for the entire linebacker market if he signed it. So the Browns guys aren't the only ones dealing with off-season drama. DraftKings contributors, Reed T. Fowler. I know. Jeff Ulrich, Pierce Dietrich, dude. You guys are here for some over/under fun. The Bears' projected win total, just 6.5. So does taking away one of their key defensive pieces make this an even easier under for you, Reed?
I mean, rarely, right, guys, do we see that a defensive player can change the landscape of a bet. We all talk about this, right? Whether it be lines for that day or just in general, it's usually the quarterback, offensive line. Those two players are the ones that really affect it. But Raquan Smith has been a leading tackler in the NFL, right, for the last couple of seasons, right? He's kind of on that Luke Kuechly type of trajectory, and we see it, right? It's like him, Bobby Wagner, Shaquille, the artist formerly known as Darius Leonard. These guys can affect games, especially when you're talking about turnovers, right? Darius Leonard or Shaquille, Leonard is known for that. So, when you talk about him and Roquan Smith himself, PFF has him as the 12th best linebacker in coverage, but it doesn't really affect it more so, right, than I've already felt about the Bears, which is that they're not necessarily going to be a team that other teams are too afraid of. So I'm still out on the Bears. They're still young. I want to see more from them. I like some players for fantasy and best ball, but I would take this under even before Roquan Smith.
Okay, Jeff, are you in the same boat there?
Name a starter on the Bears defense other than Raquan Smith. Anybody?
I was going to say Roquan Smith, but you said I couldn't.
Anybody? Yes. Other than Roquan. Do you think that maybe Raquan Smith took a look around the room and said, maybe we're a few years away here. Let's try and go to sunny pastures. No, this Bears under. It's becoming a top 3 bet for me. You look at this team and the exuberance. I like Justin Fields. I love the Darnell Mooney connection for fantasy. I really do. Matt Eberflus, it's a new head coach, but him and Luke Getsy, the new OC, these guys are gonna have to work absolute magic just to keep this team in games. This team had one of the worst coverages in terms of cornerback play last season. Nothing's gonna change there. I like the Kyler Gordon move in the draft is okay, but if they lose Roquan Smith, man, this thing is it's going to be ugly. They're going up against Justin Jefferson, Aaron Rodgers, and an improved Detroit Lions offense. I actually really like this under quite a bit. It pains me to say because I don't want to bet against Justin Fields, but I think that's definitely the way to go in the Bears this year.
All right, Pierce, is this an under? Is this a sweep for the under?
No, I'll take it over. I can't name any of the starters hardly from last season, and that defense was serviceable. Well, the defense wasn't really the problem. You take away one guy, and they're not going to – Roquan will come back. This is all just a part of the game. This is how negotiating works. He's trying to leverage his position. The Bears probably are being misers. I don't know what they're doing, but, give it a couple days. They'll work this thing out. Or in a matter of moments, he'll get traded, given my general predictions here. I think Roquan is going to stay, and the Bears defense will be okay. The big question is their offensive line. If you're betting the over or under, is the line going to be better? ESPN says that the line's 11th best heading into the season. If that's the case and Fields has time to pass and develop, you don't really like their receivers and Harry and Mooney and whoever else they have. It's basically second string, third stringers. Those are second string, number 3 wide receivers when you have an alpha there to flank them. They don't even have that. So that is a bit of a concern. But if the line's better and Fields can have time and develop, they can definitely win 7 games. Now, at the same time, NBC says this is the worst line of football. So, hey, We'll see. It's still preseason.
That was such an all-time moment here on this show where you were like, Tyreek Hill is never being traded. We go off the air, and three minutes later, Tyreek Hill has been traded. You know whose line is not very good right now, though, Pierce? That would be the Jets, because it looks like they've lost right tackle Mekhi Becton for the season with a knee injury. So this is not going to make life any easier for this guy on your screen, second-year quarterback Zach Wilson. Pierce, over or under his season passing total of 3,750.5 yards.
I'll still take the over. This is not good for the Jets, and it's still early. I'm sure there's more bad things that are going to happen given the way that things work out for the Jets. That was the problem last season. They had decent weapons, young quarterback, but the line just completely let them down with injuries. And here we are repeating what we watched from last season. If the line can just be halfway decent, and even if not, even if they're playing from behind, well, they're going to pass more, and so that's going to boost Zach Wilson's numbers. He's got receivers. And Corey Davis should be able to return to that 2020. I don't know if he should be able to, but he could easily return to his 2020 status. Elijah Moore is, if he can stay on the field, was showing big-time development down the stretch. Braxton Berrios actually has the best PFF grade on the team, a very dependable slot receiver. The weapons are there. If they can give protection to him, he should be able to get over this number. And if they can't, and he's just throwing the ball, playing from behind, then he should easily be able to clear this number.
Jeff, you think he can easily clear this number?
Yeah, it's the Jets, so nothing is going to be easy here. But I'm not like out there looking to take unders on Zach Wilson necessarily. When you're looking at quarterback totals too, you got to look at situation. The Jets aren't in a situation where, you know, there's no like high-end backup here where they're eager to just give him a chance if Zach Wilson stumbles a bit. Zach Wilson is the guy. We're really just fading injuries here. And McCabe Becton being out does not help the injury front, admittedly, but there's so many paths for Zach Wilson to go over this total if he just stays on the field. Pierce mentioned if this team sucks again, it just means they're going to be passing more. I love the Elijah Moore, you know, the pick they made in the first round as well, adding to the depth there. So I think everything is set on the table for Zach Wilson to go over this total. We just need to avoid these like black swan events. So when I look at QB totals like that generally has me bullish. I'm not, again, it's the Jets. I'm not making any over bets on any Jets players because they're the Jets. But I'm also not going out to look to fade this number. I think it's very fair, and I think Wilson, more times than not, will go over this number this year.
Reed, you think he's in good position to go over?
No, I don't. I'm going to take the other side on this. And look, I think what these guys are saying is absolutely true, right, in a vacuum. And what you worry about, what you liked about Zach Wilson is that it's a second-year quarterback. Guys like Elijah Moore, right? You bring in CJ Uzoma as well to really anchor that offense with those young players. It's the pressure rate that this guy was one of the most pressured quarterbacks last year. And granted, it was his rookie season, but he was awful. Like he was very bad. And that scares me a touch, right? Is that especially with Mekhi Becton out, that pressure rating is going to get to him. And if you look at their schedule, they obviously play the Patriots twice. The Dolphins have a really good secondary, and the Bills, right? So they play those teams 6 times. And Zach Wilson, it's going to be tough for him. They have one of the tougher pass, defensive schedules or schedules against pass defenses. And he goes up against the top 13 rush defenses, like I think 11 out of the 17 games. So he's going to be under a lot of pressure. That scares me. So I'm going to skew under here.
All right, we have 2 preseason games tomorrow, starting with the Patriots and the Giants. And Saquon Barkley appears to be healthy. There's been a bunch of video of him just trucking dudes in camp. On the DK Sportsbook, has a season rushing plus receiving yards total of 1,300.5 yards. Who is all in on a healthy Saquon? Maybe you are, Jeff?
I mean, all in is a stretch. Let's bring the cattle back into the barn here a little bit. But in is yes, I am. I've been sucked into these sexy like training camp photos of him just posing and chiseled abs and whatever he's bringing. But you look at Saquon's production the first couple seasons. I mean, 91 catches, 52 catches, like. We're talking about a combined total here. We just need him to be on the field for like a 13, 14 games. He's going to go over this number. He doesn't even have to be that efficient on the ground. You've got the big playability, obviously, which can pad totals here too. But this is really just a matter of, do you think Saquon can stay healthy for a year? And, again, we're getting such a low total here. And I remind people, he made 1,400 all-purpose yards receiving, rushing in 2019 that we don't even need a full season. So I think this total is low enough. You should be going over. I will say this. One bet I like, if you want a smaller investment on Saquon, leading rusher in the NFL. He's plus 4,000 in that market.
Okay.
I really don't hate it. I mean, the Giants, the one thing about the Giants, they have a very weak schedule this year. Saquon does stay in for all 17 games. That plus 4,000, this guy was probably what was he last season for that award? Like plus 1,200? Take him for a little long shot on most rushing yards this year.
I mean, Reti Fowler, he's played just 15 games the last 2 seasons here.
Yeah, but like Jeff mentioned, I believe in his rookie season, he hit this number just rushing alone, right? Or like he was close to it. So, I mean, you get it for a full season. Absolutely. The one thing that scares me, though, is what Jeff is a simp for. Like, all these hype videos that you're seeing him, that is not good. Right, that is not good for a bet like this because it just inflates the number. And what do you also get in big markets like New York, Los Angeles, parts of Texas, especially for football? those numbers are inflated. The books know that everybody wants to get on this New York Giants train with Brian Daboll, and that's what you like. But you take a look at Brian Daboll, like his offenses, right? It remains to be seen how it's going to be implemented here. What you do like, though, really, is there's no one behind this guy. It's Matt Breida. That's pretty much it, right? Like, it's Saquon Barkley. So if he can get a 3-down roll and stay healthy, absolutely, he's going to smash this number.
All right, Pierce, you think he could smash this number if he remains healthy?
Yeah, that's a huge if. I don't think we should assume that he's going to stay on the field. And I also believe that not only will injuries probably pop back up, but Daboll has never been a one running back guy. You look at what he did in Buffalo, and it's not like the backups in Buffalo were any good, but he was definitely running a committee with just anybody that he had. And I believe he's going to do the same thing in New York, because you look at the two backups for Barkley, where did they come from? Oh, by the way, they were both with Daboll last season in Buffalo. He brought those two guys in because he plans on using them, or at the very least, he's going to spell Barkley from series here and there. And also, Daboll just doesn't work the running backs that much. You look at what Singletary had his best season, 1,100 total yards. No one in the 3 years that Daboll was the coordinator at Buffalo in the backfield was putting up solid numbers. LaShawn McCoy, I know he was at the end of his career, but he still wasn't able to put up good numbers in the system. It's a passing system. If we're going to be bullish on anything, we should be excited about Kadarius Toney, but I'm sure people will get sick of hearing about Toney over the next 3 weeks. I mean, you're already hearing, like, he's the most highly rated, efficient point per dollar play for week one. Can't wait to keep hearing that week after week.
Hasn't even practiced in full yet this training camp.
Oh, the Toney hype is through the roof. I would take the under on Barkley.
Tomorrow's other game, guys, it features the Titans and the Ravens, which kind of leads us to another beefy running back here. Derrick Henry had only 10 rushing touchdowns last year, but that was in 8 games. The season total for 2022, 13.5. You can see the touchdown leaders from last season on your screen. You taking over or under that for him, Reed? 13.5.
You taking under on any Derrick Henry prop, it's silly. Look, he's going to face so many 8+ man boxes on the defense because they, like, who else do they have? And, you know, if Tennessee is smart, they're like, we don't want to have the same thing happen where he gets run to the ground and we don't have him for the rest of the season. Having said that, and I know touchdown rate touchdowns are variant, so I'm sure Jeff's going to, you know, kind of divulge into that. I think there's going to be a lot on himself and Treylon Burks, right? And when you have a lot on a rookie riding on this offense, you tend to skew a little bit more towards the guy who's been doing it. So yeah, I'm not necessarily running to the window to place this bet, but I'm also not betting unders on Derrick Henry, especially in touchdown rate. When this guy, like, all he does, especially in November, December, is get 2 touchdowns per game for like a month straight. I
mean, Jeff, he's plus 650, have the most rushing touchdowns on DK Sportsbook. Only Jonathan Taylor has shorter odds.
Yeah, I'm never taking over on a 13.5 touchdown prop. I don't even really care who the player is. It's just there's just too much variables involved with scoring touchdowns, and also he's a running back. So I mean, again, if you're betting like more than one running back over prop, then you've probably made too many. But if Derrick Henry stays healthy, there's no doubt he'll probably go over this. That's just what the Tennessee Titans do when they get in the red zone. They like to give him as many shots to break through, and he's extremely good at doing it, if not one of the best. But no, I'm not going over on 13.5. We're also getting to a point with Derrick Henry where, like, the cliff is coming. I mean, the running back cliff is coming. I mean, I'm sorry, but, like, he's a bigger dude. You know, he's not necessarily like one of these more efficient runners. He relies a lot on strength and physicality, and when that goes, like, he will fall off a cliff with some of this stuff. So I don't think it's going to happen this year, but it could. It actually could. So no, Derrick Henry, a player that I'm not necessarily all out fading, but I'm definitely not going over on.
Jeff, how many players do you have on a cliff? Like, there's Tom Brady, who's like,
everyone's on a cliff.
Derrick Henry, who's on a cliff. Who else is on this cliff?
Yeah,
Kingsbury, he's probably
not Nick Foles.
Didn't want to. Oh God, one of you mentioned, maybe it was you, Pierce. I don't know. One of you guys mentioned like a cliff with Aaron Rodgers yesterday. I don't know, but Pierce, 13.5 rushing touchdowns for Derrick Henry. Over or under that?
Cliff Bar?
Ooh.
I'll take the under. We've talked extensively about betting overs in the preseason. You've got to deal with injuries. You don't want to really bet overs on injury-prone players. I don't necessarily want to say Henry is injury-prone, but he is coming off a season where he did suffer from injuries. And then also running backs who suffer injuries, it's really tough to bet an over. Maybe Tannehill trying to prove himself is going to poach more touchdowns this season. But Jeff has pretty much nailed it, and Reed alluded to it as well. When we're talking about touchdowns, it's just a high variance situation. It's dependent on the rest of his team. It's dependent on the sequence and the circumstances of the game and him getting the carries in those situations and then not passing more. It's like betting on win totals in baseball. A pitcher can do everything right and still not get the win because his team doesn't score runs. So Henry might have a good season, but that doesn't necessarily imply that he's going to go over this. And you throw in the injuries, I'll take the under.
All right, Pierce, we're cutting you loose. You have fallen off the sweats cliff today. Jeff and Reed, you can stick around, though, because Lynn Hochberg is going to join us for a DFS preview of the St. Jude Championship in Memphis. Hey, well, a big name just withdrew moments ago. That's right. We'll talk about it. He's also a rumored live guy. Hang out. Hey, we're back. Final block of the show. The gorgeous golf gurus are here. DraftKings contributors Reed T. Fowler, Jeff Ulrich, Len Hochberg, senior golf writer for RotoWire. A rock-solid PGA Tour price check out of the St. Jude Championship here, guys. First leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs. So 7 players here hitting at least $10K on the salary board. Jeff, who makes the most sense to pay out for?
Well, I think where most people will be going will be Rory McIlroy, but I'm gonna say that it's Jon Rahm. I mean, I just feel like when Jon Rahm gets this much of a dip, you need to invest. I mean, we're talking about prices with him where he's not even in like the top 3. I mean, it's hard for me to harken back to an event where he's been this low in the salary structure. So yes, I know all the arguments that people can make against Jon Rahm. Maybe it's not the greatest setup. It's not a bomber's course, and off the tee is his biggest strength, and he's been so inconsistent on and around the greens. Why are we backing this guy? But it's Jon Rahm. I mean, he is definitely, in my mind, easily a top 5 talent on the PGA Tour. He's turned it on before. He was in contention at this event, too, back in 2019. I think Jon Rahm is an excellent dip candidate to buy on this week, and I think at 10K, it's not going to cost you much to do it anyway, so give me Rahm.
Just 2 top 10s in his last 10 starts. Reed T. Fowler, who do you want here?
Yeah, Jeff makes all the salient points about Rahm, right? Like he was a number 1 golfer in the world for a long time.
Yep.
So, buying that dip on him just feels necessary at 10K flat. That's wild. I never thought we'd see a crooked number in the betting field as well with Jon Rahm, but I'm probably staying near the top in Scottie Scheffler or Xander Schauffele. Like Xander, what we saw from him, and that stretch where he won a couple back-to-back, right? We're kind of seeing that now in these where these guys win in these bunches. We saw it with Tony Finau, we saw it with Scottie Scheffler, and Xander's right there as well. And so if you get guys like Rory at the top, a lot of people are going to go Rahm JT because they see them low. It's kind of like a major, right? Where the sandwich pricing guy who is 8th in strokes gained par 4 of the last 12 rounds. He's 8th in opportunities getting as well, so he's getting it close. If this guy starts to putt, and especially on a course like this where Tee to Green is there, give me Xander Schauffele at 10-6.
Adidas guy pushing an Adidas guy. Okay, I love it. Oh, be quiet, Asics man. All right, Len Hochberg, who do you want here? Who's going to cost you 5 figures?
Yeah, all the 10,000 guys, I could make a case, at least on some level, for all of them. It's really been a challenging week, but I'm really in lockstep with Reed on Scheffler and Xander. They are my 2 favorite plays. They are just straighter than the other guys. They are long and straight. You don't have to be long this week. It's more important to be straight. But if you can be long and straight, all the better. But interestingly, Cam Smith also, greens are going to be missed this week. They're only 4,300 square feet. There's going to be the last 4 winners, first in scrambling, second in scrambling, 6th in scrambling. Cam Smith was tied for the lead going on 18 last year, hit it into somebody's backyard. the big thing with Cam Smith is whether he's going to be able to withstand the scrutiny. The spotlight's going to be on him this week. What is the reaction going to be, and the greeting from Scotty Scheffler and Sam Burns on the first tee on Thursday? If he can be mentally tough, he's going to be right there again.
Yeah, rumored to be one of those guys taking off for live here soon. Obviously, a field like this, though, Reed T. Fowler, that 8 to 9K range, it's absolutely stacked. So you got a name or two you really like there?
If we're talking including the 9,000, like from 9 to 10,
Yeah.
Obviously, Will Zalatoris is my favorite guy. He's actually my number one ranked guy. If I'm doing power rankings, hashtag go read my article, please.
Okay.
But like he's a guy that you talk about tee to green, right? That's the big thing. Len mentioned scrambling, but you take a look at the last 6 winners, 4 of them led the field, number 1 in strokes gained tee to green on the en route to their win. And you talk about if these greens are fast, and I know we've seen Zalatoris do well and putt extremely well on fast greens. This course in this area also has experienced massive drought. Like they are way down on their rainfall, average rainfall for this part of the season. And so this might be even more baked out than it usually is. So if that's the case, getting Will Zalatoris, he's going to be popular at 9,500. He's definitely there. I'm actually going back to Sanjay as well at 8,500. Back-to-back runner-up finishes. Don't worry about Sanjay. He's going to be there.
Len, who do you like in this neighborhood?
Yeah, tee to green Zalatoris is going to be very attractive, as Reed says, at 9,500, just $300 more. Maybe Matt Fitzpatrick won't be quite as popular. He leads the tour in strokes gained. Tee to green Zalatoris is second, and he also has finished in the top 6 here 2 of the 3 years that there was a WGC. So he is well primed for a good week. What Jeff was saying earlier about John Rahm, replace the name John Rahm with Colin Morikawa. Low price. I know he hasn't had the greatest year. I know he's not, but he's still John Rahm. He's still Colin Morikawa. $8,700. I don't see how you can't at least throw something on Colin Morikawa at this price. He doesn't even have to win or maybe even get a top 5 for that.
Jeff, talk to me, Goose.
Yeah, it's like, Kim, keep it simple this week and just take what's given to you. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. I'd throw Victor Hovland in with Colin Morikawa. And look, again, I harken back. I mean, people forget, but Colin Morikawa won in Florida on another tougher test with a lot of water. And guess who else was in contention that week? Victor Hovland. Hovland was in contention at the Players. He was in contention at Bay Hill this year. These are very comparable courses to what we're going to see at TPC Southwind. When you get Hovland and Morikawa this far down and under guys like Zalatoris, I just, again, it's the simple play. It seems too easy, but we've got a guy in Hovland coming off a top 5 finish at the major. He was T4, his last start. He kind of broke out of the slump. So I don't really understand this price. I'm surprised there isn't more hype. I'll take Hovland, and I'll definitely, like Len said, take the dip on Morikawa. It's just too easy. I mean, and I don't think that enough people are going to be doing it where you have to necessarily worried about their ownership getting skyrocketing in these fields. It's an elite field. A lot of people are going to be looking at Burns, Sanjay. Good plays. Hovland, Morikawa. I think they're better.
All right, Len, who are you looking at in this field as a value play?
Yeah, ball strikers, focusing on them, certainly lower down. Aaron Wise having a great season, 7,700, probably going to be a popular pick, maybe a little bit less popular. Another great ball striker, $300 cheaper. Keith Mitchell also having a great year. And if you want to dip into the sixes, Aaron Rai, very interesting. Not a lot of the $6,000 guys have played this course, at least the last 3 years. Aaron Rai has qualified for the WGC twice in the last 3 years, finished 12th, and last year 26th, and really very good off the tee, very straight, 24th driving accuracy, 34th greens in regulation. I like him a lot, certainly at that price.
Reed T. Fowler, quickly for me.
Let's see. Scott Stallings, Brendan Steele, Tom Hoagie.
Okay, wow, that was excellent. Jeff.
Hey.
Chris Kirk, 7,400, excellent tee to green, got that around the green skill. I think he's second in this field in the around the green stats over the last 50 rounds. Henner Ban Lahiri led the field in strokes gained tee to green stats last year, 6,700. Let's go. There's your cheap GPP play right there, Lahiri.
All right, Jeff Ulrich, finally, who was your favorite DFS play for the FedEx St. Jude Championship?
Give me Victor Hovland at 9K flat. Again, coming off the top 5. I think he got the ball striking back. If he brings that swagger back, his price is going to look ridiculous on Sunday.
Sweet Tea.
Mito Pereira. I think he's just grossly underpriced.
All right. Len Hochberg, bring us home.
I think you have to have Colin Morikawa in your lineup at that price. It's just too good to pass up.
All right, dudes. Excellent work. That is a show. So, Reed T. Fowler, you're with us tonight, right? Because I know you are all over the planet right now. Awesome.
Yeah, man.
So, Reed T. Fowler, Jeff Ulrich, yours truly. We'll be talking a lot more golf tonight, 5 o'clock, Wednesday edition of The Slates. And then we're back here in studio tomorrow morning live at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Thanks for watching The Sweat, everybody.